Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, but we're here to bring you all the light and all the joy that comes with playing video games. And I've got my pixel perfect partner with me because I'm Bradley and I'm joined by Stu. How you doing, Stu?
I'm pretty good, thanks. Yeah, I love that pixel perfect. It's like an old-fashioned phrase now. Well, we used to say it all the time, didn't we? Remember, computer magazines in the 80s and 90s be like, "Oh, this arcade release has come out, and it's on the specky, it's pixel perfect." It's like,
and then it had a bit of a renaissance with the pixel perfect platformers like Super Meat Boy and stuff like that, when it was more a really difficult precision-based platformer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice phrase, pixel perfect.
It is. I like it.
Yeah, I do. It's not much has gone on in the world. I don't feel I've got any comments on the world. So yeah, really weird. There's more tariff shit going on, but I don't care about that. It's America. It's just doing weird stuff. Not much is going on over here either at the moment. It's like been a bit. I know stuff has been going on, but it just feels like it's been a bit of a down week for the world, which I don't.
Yeah. I mean, nothing crazy. We're saying this, and we're obviously tempting fate desperately, but nothing crazy has happened. But
Steve is playing like the current world simulation with all the DLC add-ons and workshop content. He's obviously gone to have his lunch, so he's just left it for a little bit in the time frame. So because we live in that Men in Black Marbles thing where we're actually in a universe ourselves within a world within a thing, but it was just a marble with an alien play toy thing, which I think is great. I still like, for me, Men in Black, I'm sure it's Men in Black, but when I opened the locker and everything, and that for me, that is the perfect encapsulation of that's probably what the world is. We're just like a world within a world within a world within a greater scope within a greater scope within a marble.
Well, yeah, I mean, apart from the marble thing, that's definitely true. What I really like, what I think is quite exciting, is that we're inside this universe that is so vast we can't comprehend it, and the way that it exists in and outside of time as we understand it, we will never comprehend because our brains can't comprehend it. And it's so vast that we could never travel to any point where we could understand it anyway. And I find that strangely comforting. I just really like it. But then again,
we don't matter. And also, don't poo-poo the marble thing. That could be the actual truth of it all, for all you know.
True. That's absolutely true. Could be.
Yes. And I want that to be true. I want us to be an alien boys plaything.
Well, I think we know what the podcast title is going to be now.
Alien Boys Plaything, yeah. Talking of playthings, Stu.
Yeah.
Video games.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing some. You've been playing some. As usual, I've been playing more than you because I'm a degenerate with no life because I've got only half a leg and I just sit here these days. So ask the question.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could still be playing more. We could all be playing more. But what have you been playing?
So first up is from one of my favourite developers, I think, or development teams. It's another story-based affair by Don't Nod. Who have done the amazing Life is Strange series, a few other bits, the criminally underrated Remember Me, and I will die on that hill, I've said before. Their latest affair is called Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, which is very much in the vein of Life is Strange, and it's a two-parter. And the first part that's come out, and I believe if I'm correct, if you buy the game, you get both parts. It's just two separate episodic events that happen. And they've so Bloom is out, and that's the bit I've played, and Rage is coming later this year. but you buy it and you just get it. So it's kind of like they've gone episodic without the bullshit around it. If you've played Life is Strange, you know that's generally how they release all their titles. Anyway, and this is, well, I suppose the best way to put it is: have you seen or heard of Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, I watched the first series and part of the second, and then I started to go off a bit. But yeah, no, the first series was good.
Really love it personally. I think it's absolutely outstanding. We've just caught up. We've binged watched all of it right through to current episode, which is now releasing weekly. Which is, again, it's like weird having to wait weekly for stuff. That's on like Paramount Plus and that. Anyway, so where it does this thing where you get the present day happenings and then it goes back to the 90s happenings and stuff like that without ruining any of it. Honestly, if anyone not watched it, go watch Yellow Jackets. It's brilliant. Also, Christina Ricci, outstanding again, as is the person who plays the younger. Anyway, we're going too far. So in this, you're this person who's modern day and they get this message to go back and meet their friends. And as they're going their journey back to go and meet their friends in the present day, you get little drop backs to the 90s. And like the 90s has got its own feel where it's kind of like this videotape type thing going on, and you get to find out what's causing this group of friends to have to meet again, despite saying that they was once they'd moved on, they was never going to meet again. So you got this whole mystery building up, and very much so far, like, because I started playing this around the time I started watching Yellow Jackets, I'm going, oh, okay, I get it. It's kind of that. And it really is kind of that, but it's not fully that either. It's its own thing with a really well done story that I don't want to spoil. But what Don't Nod do, and this is really good, each of their games has its own hook. This one, where it's got like the story being told at different times is like as part and parcel. But when you're in your younger self, you're doing things like it starts off with the main character you play is moving from their home to somewhere else, and they want to be a filmmaker, so they're documenting everything. So you have to sort of like, it starts off, the story was really good, like you start off in your bedroom and it's like, take footage of your memories of the room. So you get your camcorder out and you record certain parts that it wants you to record, like of maybe like a teddy bear that's on your bed or your cat or something like that, and she commentates over it. And after you put it all together, after you've done your recordings of it, it kind of edits them together to create a home video kind of thing. And what's really cool, I thought it was like, you do the recording and focus, then it'll give you like a full-on, this is what it should have looked like kind of thing after edited. But it actually uses your camera movement as part of the home video. And I found that out because I thought, it don't really matter. So I was mucking around, zooming in and out on a bookshelf and sort of like moving the camera about. And when it done the final edit, that was the actual camera movements as well, but it felt like it had been properly like a film student editing together, but it used my actual camera. It's really cool. You use that to tell a story, and there's loads of little bits like, I'll try and get footage of all these different types of birds on these different things. And as you go, you're using the camera to tell the story, to unlock the mystery, and then you'll jump forward in time, and there'll be some more context to why these matter now and what that brings forward, and the acting is all really good. The kids all have really good personalities and not just annoying kids. Again, I think Don't Nod write teenage characters really, really well. I think better than most others. Like, I think the writing of these is like miles better than what you get in like Until Dawn, where they are cliched teenagers. No, these are actual teenage people that feel like it's been written by teenage people, and they have teenager problems, and the way they act to certain things compared to how they act now is totally different. And when they do something idiotic, you're kind of like, I get that. Yeah, that's what a teenager would do. And yeah, it just fits together really well. And I've reached the end of the Bloom section, and I can't wait for the Rage section because it's left it on it's a cliffhanger, but it's not a cliffhanger. But it's kept me going. Whoa, okay, what's next? Can't wait to play the next bit. And I think they've learned from the mistakes they made in Life is Strange, where I know this is ironic me saying it. Some of the episodes dragged on a little bit and didn't give you time to breathe before going on to what's next. They tried to pack in too much with a lot of wordy dialogue. Again, I accept the irony there, but they've learned from that. It's that this episode is well paced. It's maybe like a few hours long. It's so well paced. The acting's really good, and it leaves you waiting now for however long it takes you. Like, well, I can't wait for the next one. Like literally waiting for the next season of whatever favourite like drama show, whatever, like a Yellow Jackets or a Breaking Bad or whatever. You can't wait for that next season to come up. That's exactly what they've done here, and it's absolutely wonderful so far.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm a big fan of them. I don't jump on every single game they release, but I do dip in and out every now and again. And I agree. Remember Me, great game, totally underrated. And I've really Life is Strange. I thought was excellent. So yeah, I think I might have to have a go at this one. It sounds like it's right up my street.
Yeah, and again, because you do get the whole thing, I don't think you're going to lose out by going getting it now, or like there will be special offers and stuff like that. I was just waiting to know what maybe sort of like, does it get the same reception for the second part? But for me, I think there's enough content in the first part that if you was to do that and leave it at the end of Bloom, I think you'd still be satisfied. Regardless of what the second part was like.
Yeah.
But again, I trust them that I think the second part's going to be brilliant as well. So yeah, absolutely outstanding, that one.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's on the list.
You made the list.
Exactly.
It's a Jericho reference, which I don't know if he's all right or not. He's a weird one. Anyway, that's a weird, like, Bradley fault wrestling stuff, whatever. What have you been playing, Stu?
Well, I've been playing something very different than that. I've been playing a game called Odinfall, which is a brand new, although still in early access, twin stick shooter. And I would describe it as Welcome to the Gungeon meets Borderlands. So you've got these environments. There's a lot of different ones, but they're all in the similar sort of type of frame of you exploring a little map, and it's you've got to find your way out of that mini map and get back to the world map and work your way to the next area. And it's got this overlaid theme is Norse mythology, but it's kind of cyber Norse. It's a kind of great big mishmash of sci-fi and old mythological tropes and stuff, which works really, really well. And the Borderlands thing comes in. It's got that totally kind of campy but over the top, extreme with an X kind of 90s feel of everything being bright orange, bright pink, like Rage as well, that game. Of it, being this kind of punk aesthetic, and it's got a little bit of cyberpunk in there as well. But essentially, it's that kind of game. You're going around these maps, you're shooting things, you're getting the key to escape the level, and there are various different types of enemies that are like, some are small little swarms, some of them are huge tanky bosses, and all that kind of stuff. All good stuff. And where another Borderlands thing comes in is that you get an absolute ton of weapons. There's so many different types to choose from, and what they've done well is that each one feels distinct. So even if you've got like one type of submachine gun and another assault rifle, they will feel different. They've put a lot of time obviously into making it look and feel so that everything has its own unique kind of character and flavor, which is really important for these kind of games. You want as many quirky weapons as you can get, and there are bolt-ons for each of them as well, changing like fire rate, bullet size, all sorts of stuff like that. Really, really important. And there's good melee in it. And the enemies are excellent. Like, the design of them is really good. So as I say, it's a kind of a mixture of like cheesy and scary in a way. They're threatening, but without being kind of bland or obvious. They're kind of a real mishmash of things. They kind of look like gods, crossed with strange technology, and it's a really nice look, but it's sort of cartoony at the same time. It really stands out on its own. And what really makes the game step apart from the rest of the crowd is that it's got really great feedback. And like, I'm always banging the drum for good feedback in games. I don't mean customer feedback, I mean like the action feedback, and it does that really well across the board. So not only do you like have knockback when you shoot, which is not common in third person overhead games, you also have some screen judder, although you can adjust that. There's lots of heavy contrast. The colors are very bright. They're like a bullet hell shoot 'em up. So reading the screen, even when it's packed, is really easy. Enemy knockback is really, really good. So you feel the impact of hits and you feel like your weapons are doing what they should do, and it helps you determine the difference between each one and whether you're liking that gun or not. It's also got like, as I say, like a really high contrast field of view. It's got quite a narrow field of view, which makes it hard, but they've done a couple of clever things where when you're down to the last couple of enemies on a level, they will pulse and you'll see like a little shockwave thing coming off the edges of the screen, hinting where they are. So you're not just kind of endlessly traipsing around a level trying to find the last couple of critters, which is really good. They've got a lot of really clever features in there that are they're small but they're noticeable and they bring that feel. So it sits really, really well. The only complaint I've got at the moment is it is very tough, and I'm not bad at these games. I'm quite good at them, but it is very tough. Like some of the enemies, even the small enemies, take a little bit too much in terms of damage. And that's not really the point of those kind of enemies. And it does mean that like you can be choked up attacking them whilst getting hammered by the larger ones. So I think that might need a bit of rebalance. It's in early access, so they can do that.
But at the time, I think it gets boring when they're just pure cannon fodder at the same time. That's a tough balance to get right, isn't it?
It is a challenge. Yeah, you have to look at how many you're populating on the screen, how likely the weapons that people are using are going to clear that set of enemies and in what sort of length of time, and then rebalance it based on that. And I think it's a delicate art as well as a bit of science, but hopefully they'll get there with that. And even some of the main bosses are a bit tanky as well, which I think reduce their health by 20% or so in most cases. You'd probably make it a bit more exciting and still challenging. But anyway, they're sort of minor considerations aside. It's a really good example of these. Best one I've played since Welcome to the Gungeon. I've heard good things about Nuclear Throne, but I've not really played that. I'll have to pick that up and have a think and see what I see and see what I think of that one. But really good game. Not very expensive. Still in early access. Couple of caveats, but overall, big thumbs up for it.
Cool. Yeah, no, Country sounds really interesting. It's kind of on my radar with I'm going to wait and see. Because it does look difficult, you're right, and it's but also I'm kind of hit or miss with twin stick shooters. Either I really do get on well with them, or I just bounce right off of them. It's I look at something like I made a game with zombies here, which is one of my favourite all-time twin stick shooters because it was so basic and it was so well done. Others have played that have been completely not memorable at all, that have been sort of like almost big budget, and they've just been, just not been poor. This sounds like it's one of those where it's really going to, for me, depend on what its 1.0 release is like as to whether it'll be a big success or not by the sounds of it.
Yeah, definitely. And that'll either, sink or swim, and it'll go to console, won't it, when it's out of early access? So that'll be where the money is. So fingers crossed it's they get the balance right, but even if they don't change it from what it is, it's still a fun pickup. Yeah.
Just a quick shout out. You mentioned Borderlands. Nothing to do with the game, this, right? But obviously the film's just now arrived on I think Sky or Netflix or something like that. And obviously it's a really, really bad film. A bad film in every way you could imagine. A bad film. However, can we appreciate the Borderlands film for putting video game TV and movie stuff back where it belongs? because it's been getting a bit above its own station. Because when you've got stuff like the Sonic trilogy, the Mario movie, Last of Us TV series, or the Twisted Metal TV series doing really well and being really good, video game stuff needed to go back to where it belonged, which was absolute tripe. So credit to Borderlands for doing that.
Yeah, things were getting a bit too good there, weren't they? Needed to knock back a little bit. Although the new Last of Us series is out soon, and that was the first series of that was really good. It was a little bit kind of not necessary if you played the game, but it was a good series.
It wasn't unnecessary, apart from the one episode that focused on, I can't remember their names, but the guy from Parks and Rec was in it. What's his name?
Nick Offerman.
Yeah, Nick Offerman, and the character, like why he was who he was, and his relationship, which then like about why he became like this grumpy old sod kind of thing. That was brilliant. More of that, please. That's what I want to see more from The Last of Us, is these side stories that we didn't get in the games, because that was like, and again, I think that was such one of the best representations, in my opinion, of gay characters that wasn't going down the camp route or the entertainment route or the tragic route. It was just two people who found each other in the worst situation possible and fell in love. And I just thought it was like the way that episode was done. That, for me, if you was given the show Emmy Awards or whatever they give it in America, it's the Emmys, isn't it? The TV one.
Yeah.
An Emmy for that episode alone. That is one of the greatest episodes of TV I've seen in the past decade. So yeah, more of that. Less of just being the video game again. But yeah, that's come up. And hopefully this year we get the second season of Twisted Metal as well.
So you'd recommend the first series? Because I've not seen that. Oh, I think we talked about this. Yeah, you said it was all right.
Yeah, it's pure schlock, but it's really good schlock. And I know Samoa Joe had a little bit of time off TV again, wrestling wise, last year. So I'm hoping that was because he was there doing production, shooting for that, because he was the body for Sweet Tooth. Despite, oh my God, my names are shocking. Arrested Development. What's his name?
Oh, which one?
Will Arnett was the voice of Sweet Tooth.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Samoa Joe was the body of Sweet Tooth, and it was really good. Watch it, honestly. Just watch it over couple of weeks. It's pure schlock, but again, that's taken what shouldn't work as a TV series and did. But yeah, shout out to Borderlands. It's shite.
Cool, I like that. So what else have you been playing?
Yes, because you can play video games. Did you know that, Stu? Not just watch them now.
Oh, apparently, crazy.
Do you remember Fights in Tight Spaces from a few years ago? It was a deck building tactical battle game. They've brought out a sequel. And, you know, a lot of people have been out a sequel going, what can we do with the mechanics and stuff like that? And we'll base it around the mechanics. It'll be Fights in Tight Spaces too. No. What you want to do, if you are going to do a sequel, you want to go on, right, what sounds a little bit like Fights, but isn't Fights. So they've brought out a game called Knights in Tight Spaces, where it's pretty much the same concept as the first game, where you draw cards. It's a deck builder fighting game. You draw cards, and that you position your characters on a board, so we'll call it a board. It's like a grid. That's the word I'm thinking of. On a grid where they will then defend or attack against various enemies, and what cards you draw will denote what movement you can make, what special moves you have, what basic attacks you have, and stuff like that. And what they've done is Fights in Tight Spaces was very much pure close combat. You had to get in, you had to punch and stuff like that. What Knights does is it takes the kind of the modern stuff and takes it back to a medieval setting, hence the Knights part, but adds a few little tweaks that make it really well done. So there's a lot more things sort of like you can use medieval weapons to do certain types of attacks and stuff like that. And you've got different ways of dealing. So you're not going to get big like high kicks and martial arty type stuff. Everything's very much grounded in close quarters weapon combat, so to speak. Still punches and basic kicks and stuff like that there. And what I feel this one does slightly better than fights in tight spaces for me is it uses the room that you're in better. So there's more obstacles that you can use as part of your attack. So you can kick someone in fights in tight space. You could kick someone out of a window or off the edge of the map and stuff like that. That's still there. But for me, within the room, there's more things. So you can kick them over something and they'll kind of go back, trip over it, and then you've created space between you and them. There's not just a one grid space, but it's now a space of, there's an obstacle there that they've got to go around. So you can create yourself room to fight. And I think the way the AI works is better, that you could do, in terms of for you, where you could do more of, right, if I start in here, they're going to do their next attack. If I could just literally move behind this character, kick in one space, and then the other one will attack, because he's got an attack set that says, as soon as someone comes into my space ahead of me, I'm going to attack regardless. So you can really set up, like, you do no damage pretty much to a baddie, push him into a space and his mate will destroy him. And there's a lot more stuff around that, whereas for me, fights in tight spaces run its course after the first few levels. It was like, okay, it's pretty much the same stuff throughout, and I didn't feel I could experiment as much. With this, there's a lot more experimentation, and like it looks totally different in terms of, whereas fights in type spaces felt like this simulation, I suppose. Like it was white, it was white with elements of red in it, like a mirror's edge cleanliness to it. This looks, it's like an old timey brown, but we're not talking like the original Gears of War brown, like that era. It's like this old timey brown. It looks medieval, and it looks like, it's, for me, it's got a lot more character than the original had. And the original was brilliant. I feel like I'm dunking on the original. I think the original was absolutely brilliant, but this just takes it up a notch once again. And yeah, could it have been a add-on pack? Possibly, but I think they wanted to release it as a game just because it's a cool pun on the first game as well. But yeah, it's really good. There's loads to discover. I think there's more to discover as well. It's literally the first game, but more in a different setting, and it's just done really, really good. And be interested to see what they do next. Maybe aerial combat with kites.
I know, yeah. It just gone through like the dictionary and looked at what rhymes. It's just like, yeah, can we do tights? With tights in tight spaces, would that work? Kites, yeah. Flights in tight spaces.
Kites in height spaces.
Yeah, that would be more. Yeah, that would be better.
They could do a puzzle one, lights in night spaces.
Yeah. See, these are all classic suggestions. They're going to steal them. You know they will.
I'm all good for that. All good for that. But yeah, no, it's a really good, like, they've taken the deck builder genre, and it's not just another deck builder, which I really like. It's got that element of, oh my God, I'm so bad with those. There was a grid-based tactical shooter that was like literally a 5x5 grid tactical shooter, sort of tactical game, grid tactics game. I can't remember what it was called. It done really good numbers a few years back, but it's kind of got that to it with the deck building. It's just, anyway, it's really, really good. And other things as well that it's got. Again, you position yourself in certain positions and you can stop enemies coming, so it really makes you think. And it's really, it's a solid game. And again, I think it's about 15 quid. Easily worth that. It's one of those you can pop on a train journey if you're going somewhere, or if you've got half hour before bed, run through a couple of levels and stuff like that. It's one of those games where it's so obvious what you've got to do in terms of mechanics. Pick up and play. whenever you fancy it. Absolutely ideal.
Yeah, those graphics are fantastic as well. Really impressed with those.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it almost looks like a diorama, doesn't it? Like a 2D diorama in a 3D space kind of thing. It's like I think the first one had a really great style to it, but this just looks something else. It looks like it could be a physical board game at the same time. So yeah, I'd be happy to play I think you could turn that into a good physical board game.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those that you could see yourself playing physically with miniatures, and it's one of those as well that because of the sort of timeless, low poly style. Just the style of it, the quality of it. If you'd showed it to me when I was a kid, I'd be like, is that what games are going to look like? That's incredible. Even though it's not like the AAA kind of thing, I'd probably be more blown away by this than I would some of the other stuff that comes out.
Oh, you'd have got the full Elijah Wood and gone, it's a kid's toy.
Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, no, it's really good. I think sort of like a really good week for games. I think last week was a bit average in terms of what was being played, unfortunately, but this week stepped it up again.
Yeah, I mean, they're quality all the way through.
It's going to be another tough year, I think. If you're stepping outside the AAA world, as we do, I think you're looking at another good solid year when it comes to picking our games at the end of the year already.
Started off pretty bloody well.
It has indeed. But every start, Stu, must have an end. So I will take my leave and let you take us to the Thunderdome.
Well, I was going to say that's very philosophical right up until you mentioned the Thunderdome, but fair play.
Now, I was going to say to the Crystal Dome. But in case you've got any Americans listening, they might not know what a Crystal Dome is.
True. Yeah, it might be a mystery. If so, go and watch Crystal Maze. That's very, very much recommended. But yes, that's
could be a physical.
A physical.
Yeah, well, you had a mystery games, you had physical games. I really thought that's what you was going for, Stu.
No. Happy accident.
A Crystal Maze pun.
Nope.
Ruined it. Get out. Got finish us off. To the daughter, I don't know.
Yeah, I tend to ruin these things, but hey,
you don't all live that life in past TV.
I know, it's bizarre that, isn't it? Although I was seeing something the other day on YouTube about Day of the Triffids, just talking about that and how good it was. And it was, bloody hell. And Chucky. Very Welsh.
It's Triffids. It's just it's Day of the Triffids is all it is. I don't know what accent was, but it just sounds Welsh, Triffids.
Fair enough. I liked your accent. I think, Martian, maybe, that accent, or something like that.
Unfortunately, every accent I do somehow either goes fully Welsh, but when I try to do Welsh, it kind of starts creeping into South Asian.
Yeah, a lot of people have that that challenge. Dear.
Before I'm sounding incredibly racist.
Yeah, let's go. Let's back away from that subject. But yes.
Take it out. Go.
I will. So as usual, follow us on all the socials. Make sure you're checking out the website for more content. Check out the videos on YouTube if you want. And you also can get the podcast on YouTube, normally on the same day, sometimes the day after, but normally straight on the same day if you want to consume it that way. And other than that, until next week, stay safe and stay sane.